Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Rob, welcome to the show. Man, I haven't seen you in too long, man. It's been like, what, at least 12, 13 years since we've seen each other eye to eye. So this is a special moment for me.
Yes, you've always been one of my favorite people. So to be able to reconnect like this, that's awesome.
Yeah, I knew you were going to be in town. I texted you, and you're the first show of the day. So for the viewing audience, nobody knows who you are, except for, people may follow you online or on your podcast with Randy over here, who's up next.
Yeah.
So your story, like how'd you got into become a doctor of chiropractic? You had a practice. You've been helping people for quite a few years. So how did that all go down?
Well, it all went down really because just from the very beginning, even as a kid, I always really had a desire to want to help people, make an impact in people's lives. Back then, the only way I knew how to do that was how I was raised, and that was by going to a medical doctor. So where it all started was I really wanted to become a medical doctor. Had horrible migraine headaches and was taking medications just like most other people are told to do, was doing those things and literally lived inside a medicine cabinet. In fact, I remember as a kid, our in the bathroom where you have they have the little bitty medicine cabinet on the side. Mm-hmm. Our medicine cabinet was the towel cabinet above the toilet, and I can remember as a kid climbing up onto the toilet to get onto the sink in order to be able to get my aspirin or whatever I was taking for my headaches. And so that's how I grew up. And so started college, pre-med. Got into medical school at the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio, Texas. Mm-hmm. Started there off of migraine headaches that progressed to the fact that I was now taking Imitrex shots, and just so I wouldn't have migraine headache. A friend of mine who happened to be one of my lab partners said, "Hey, you know what? Maybe you should go see a chiropractor." And this is while being there in medical school. And I'm like, what is that?
What is that? Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a real doctor. And so
that's the going joke, right?
It is.
Watch out.
So and it was cool though, because my stepmother's sister worked in a chiropractor's office. My stepmother and my dad had been going to a chiropractor for a long time. I really didn't understand why, so I ended up going to that chiropractor, and I loved it. Everything that he was saying was making sense, getting to the cause of the problem, not treating the symptoms. And 2 weeks went by, and my migraine headaches were gone.
That's crazy. After how many years?
Since I probably was as early as I can remember, 4 or 5 years old. And at that point, now I'm...
Did you have ulcers or anything by now? Like all those aspirin?
I did. That's why they put me on the Imitrex shots.
Oh, yeah.
So I was having to take the shots because of the ulcers that were being created by taking the medication.
Yeah, it's a death sentence.
It was a death sentence. So what medicine couldn't take care of, chiropractic did. So I said, all right, that's what I'm going to do. Applied to chiropractic school, got in. Stopped medical school.
You had a lot of how long were you in medical school? You probably had your prereqs mostly done.
1 year. Yeah. So I was there for 1 year. Left and went straight to Parker College of Chiropractic in Dallas, Texas. And that's how I started on the chiropractic route. And I love chiropractic because of all of the principles of health and healing and the greatest doctor, learning that the greatest doctor is inside of you and not on the outside of you. And just making sure that you've got an environment on the inside that's a place where just great things can be able to happen, can be able to help you, and not have to worry about all these crazy chronic illnesses and conditions that people have. And thank goodness that while I was getting my training there, that I was learning that principle. And rather than a lot of chiropractors who learn how to just treat symptoms and get rid of neck and back pain. No, I was really learning how to treat the body holistically from top to bottom. So that's how this all started.
Yeah, when I first heard the above, down, inside out, the chiropractic message, I was like, that makes sense. Makes sense. Toxins, traumas, physical interference, nerve impingement. And it's like, why isn't everybody? That's why I started coaching and getting in. Started with chiropractors. So I'm like, they have this, and then naturopathic doctors as well. And now today, the good news is this message is being parroted everywhere over social media. And they're not even chiropractors. And that's the body has the ability to heal itself. You just have to remove the interference. They're literally saying that. I saw it on a podcast the other day. It was like a medical doctor. Maybe it was on my own podcast, to be honest with you. I'm like, are you a chiro? No, you're a medical doctor, you know? Double board certified endocrinologist. You just have to remove the interference. The body will heal. And I'm like,
There's a concept.
There's a concept, but that's, you know, the B.J. Palmer, right? Back in the day. Toxins, trauma, and what's the third?
Autosuggestion.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys know, you got the book, you have the Bible, you probably have it, the chiropractic Bible sitting in your home. So you went more the nutrition route. You've been doing a lot of nutrition in your clinic, working with metabolic disorders, probably diabetes, weight loss, and everything that goes along with that, thyroid, you know, the gamut of it all. What do you think's the biggest, we're talking about interferences, right? What do you think the biggest interference is? If there was 3 interferences that were stopping people from getting healthy today, what would that be?
Things that are stopping people from getting healthy today is, I would say the first interference is just the mindset. Especially like for myself. And again, growing up, I was also a very heavy kid. I was the chubby kid growing up. And so I remember when I was 13 years old, I weighed like 210 pounds and was about 5'4". I was about as wide as I was tall.
You were a little bit chunky.
I was super chunky.
I was chunky too. So.
Were you really?
Yeah, a little chunky.
Yeah. So you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get to wear the jeans like everybody else was wearing because my mom would have to like hem them because like the waist and the length didn't actually match.
Yeah, they didn't have husky jeans back then. You had to get really long ones and trim them down.
They did totally. And so that's how I grew up. And I remember my mom had always struggled with her weight as well. So all I really knew about nutrition growing up from a mindset perspective is that, well, if you eat less, then you can lose weight, right? Or if you move more, you can also lose weight. So it's calories in, calories out. That's all I knew. So I was highly motivated also at that time to lose the weight. And so like a lot of people were talking about losing weight. So I started not eating. And I'm like, well, if a little is good, then a lot is really good. So I would go for like 6-7 days a week without eating anything. It went from that 210 pounds all the way down to 124 pounds in a matter of about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Super caloric restriction. At least you were in ketosis, at least.
Absolutely.
Didn't have a choice.
Absolutely. I was literally in starvation.
Yeah, you were in starvation. Yeah.
So from the 8th grade to my ninth grade years when this happened. So when I went to the 9th grade into high school, I'd lost so much weight that there were people that I went to school with my entire life that didn't even recognize me. And so it didn't, I was thin, but it didn't make me healthy. And in fact, I would pass out all the time and I just didn't feel good. I didn't have any energy. And so that made me start looking at things a little bit different from a nutrition standpoint. So I started changing what it is that I was putting into my body and started studying that a lot more. But I still was doing that from the mindset of, okay, if you want to lose weight, you still have to restrict the calories. So I thought maybe, well, I just didn't get blessed with a good metabolism. I would always get really irritated with those people that could eat whatever it is that they wanted.
Me too.
And they never gained any weight.
I still get a little bit upset about that.
Yeah, exactly. So
I just want some sourdough bread now, organic sourdough bread. If I eat that too much, I'm going to gain weight. That's just me, though.
Right. So, and that's what I had always, that's what I always is. Yeah. Talk about frustrating. And so when it comes to even metabolism or losing weight, it's really the mindset of calories in, calories out, okay? Rather than nutrients in, okay, versus nutrients not being able to get into the cell. And so fast forward, and what got me really into nutrition, I never in a million years thought, number one, I was going to be a chiropractor. Number two, that I was going to be teaching people nutrition. That wasn't what I was planning on doing. God had a different plan for me.
For sure.
And so 38 years old, I had an accident, fell off a fence, severely injured my lower back. Ironic being a chiropractor because there I was going into practice and I could barely walk. So because I couldn't walk, I couldn't exercise, and all of a sudden I gained like 65 pounds almost overnight. And during that same time period, my best friend, who's standing right over here, Dr. Randy, was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. And so being also holistic doctors, we didn't want to treat the symptom with chemo, radiation, or any of those different things for him. So he found a doctor that was helping people with cancer in Spain. So he goes to Spain, He's there, starts learning from this doctor. I went with him as well to pray for him, to make sure he was getting adjusted, just to be there for support as well. And so one of the things that we had learned from this cellular biologist, medical doctor from Lebanon, was that all chronic conditions lead downstream of metabolic dysfunction. I'd never heard that before, especially being a chiropractor. Nobody had really said anything to us about metabolism that way. And when you really think about it, metabolism simply means, well, meta is transformation. And then you have the rest of the word being it's a system in order to be able to transform whatever comes into your body into a form that can be used inside the cell. That's what metabolism is. So it's meta and then bol, beginning of life, ism, getting your body back to where it was originally designed from the beginning of life to be able to function at a higher level. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Well, here I was not being able to walk. We get back from Spain. I'm like, all right, he healed from cancer. Surely I can be able to heal from the inflammation that's going on inside my body. So why don't I start going through those same protocols that we learned for him, for myself? And then I started losing all of this weight. And what made it different this time, Warren, is that when I lost the weight, I would always get stuck at about 188 pounds. And no matter what it is that I did, I would always come back to that. I could reduce my calories as soon as I started eating real food again, then it would come right back. And so I could exercise, it always stayed there. But this time, I continued to keep on losing more and more and more weight until I actually got to my healthy weight, which I also used to always get really frustrated when you look at like the BMI charts and all those things. And I'm like, well, I'm just short. Of course it's going to look like that. And now I was finally in that healthy range for the first time in my life. And that was 14 years ago. I've stayed there ever since because we learned how to effectively heal people's metabolism. So I know your question originally was, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about nutrition. What are the changes that people need to make?
Yeah, number one is
mindset. Okay.
Yeah.
Number one, it's mindset.
That was great, by the way. So, I mean, I love that riff. I thought that was adding tons of value and really looking at what metabolism is. I haven't heard that before. So that was really well said and massive value for the audience. So,
thank you. And I think that's what people really need to understand and to be able to grasp. But that would be the first thing, mindset. And then number two, like we were talking about, is just making sure that you're getting real food nutrition into your body. So many people now, as I'm sure you talk about a ton on your podcast, is so many people have no idea what is even in the food that they're eating, right? And so they don't understand that the toxins that are being put into the food disrupt the metabolism. They cause hormonal dysregulation. They cause so many different problems inside there just by all of these different chemicals.
Yeah, just like you said, metabolism essentially is life, and anything that affects metabolism, your cells getting good nutrition in and utilizing it in such a way that it supports your body as nature intended, as God intended, it literally breaks down your cells, ruins your metabolism, ruins life. And at the end of the day, you're left with a destroyed body that's overweight, that has cancer, thyroid disorder because your hormones are being disrupted. It's really easy math. You're either creating life from the food that you eat or you're destroying life from the food that you consume and eat. And that's a choice, right? But it's a tough choice. And going back to your original number one is mindset. You're right. Mindset probably is the biggest hindrance of humanity. It stops us from everything. And not everyone can go through the trauma you did, or Randy or myself, and come out on the other side with wisdom and strength and a hero's journey story like yours. It's like, that's a hero's journey. How do I get that? Not everyone can. I think that's why you become a teacher. That's what doctor really is because you're like, wow, like if I could help someone skip the valley of death, someone could skip that valley of pain, of suffering, of the fear of cancer. Like these are real problems we all face today. And that's what I love about what you're doing. You're educating people on how to skip that valley and inspire them to say, you can do this, right? And help someone who might not have the energy, may have had a even rougher childhood than you or I, and be able to pull them up out of the pit and say, look, almost like Jesus said, let's get a little spiritual, but he said, come follow me. He never ripped on that person. He never said, oh my gosh, you are doing the worst thing ever, prostitute, tax collector, right? You're the worst. Don't you feel horrible about your life? Look at you. He's like, I know your past. Let's go. Never said a word, So I think that, the sages of old, and, we're getting sage-like. I just gave a guy some advice, some marital advice. He goes, wise from a sage. And I'm like, am I a sage? No, but I guess I'm getting older. So it's sage-like, but I love that story, but I also like to just recognize that some people need this energy today. They need to be inspired that these foods affect our life. They affect our metabolism, how we function in humanity, and mindset. Man, it is the biggest detractor, from our life, or it's the best giver of life. And we haven't talked in so long. Man, have I changed, bro. I think you're much further along in your journey, and I know you've changed. But I was a train wreck. Both my metabolism, my mindset, my spirituality was decently strong, but it kind of carried me through.
Yeah, and I love how life is always teaching us, right? Even think about like the story with Jacob, talking about the Bible, and with Jacob is spending his entire life literally, running or avoiding things. My son's name is Jacob, and that's why I think about the story, is because Jacob ultimately means heel grabber. He was always chasing after something. He didn't know quite what he was chasing after, but it took actually literally wrestling with God, and in order to be able for him to be able to feel enough pain to be able to ultimately fulfill the purpose that he had for him. And then that's when his name was changed then to Israel, right?
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of us, we have to struggle or wrestle with God in order for that true identity of who you were created to be from the very beginning absolutely exposes itself. And I think it took me wrestling with that pain of having that injury in order to be able to expose who my true identity was and what my true path was, which is why, as we were talking earlier, which is why I ended up selling my chiropractic office, because I'm like, here we are in a town of there's about 165,000 people within a 10-mile radius. And I'm in the four walls of this chiropractic office. I'm like, you know what? With helping people heal their metabolism, you have so many people who have chronic illnesses like heart disease and cancer and diabetes and all the cognitive decline disorders. Yeah. There are millions upon millions of people with those things. You know what? I got to help more people than just the people in this 10-mile radius. How am I going to do that? And so it's like God said, here's how you're going to do that. And as a result, we've been able to help thousands of people all over the world. In fact, right now, last year, we were in Ischia leading a retreat of people that were there from around the world learning from us how to be able to heal their metabolism. And what that opened our eyes to is that it's not just a problem that we think about here in the United States when it comes to people not understanding how to get good nutrients in their body or detox their body. This is a global epidemic. And the problem that we're facing now is so many people look at the United States and what it is that we're doing and are now mimicking those same things. Big and so time. Now we're polluting the rest of the world, and we've got to stop that.
Yeah, I remember when I went to Africa with our coaching company back in the day. That was in 2007, 2008. And we could see it because we walked. We went from the tribes to the cities, tribal communities, healthy, got closer to the city, getting aid from great organizations like the World Vision.
Yeah.
But they get grains, and then AIDS would take over, diabetes would take over. But if you were in the tribes, they didn't have nice clothes. They were, naked or no clothes, and they wanted, do we bring aid in? And we told the elders, we're like, no, you bring aid in, you're going to bring the disease. Do you have any diabetes? No. Do you have any AIDS? No. So you bring in the grains, you lower their immune system, you weaken their metabolism significantly, therefore lowering all their metabolic functions, and then they get sick. Keep that stuff away. They're healthy. They can live off the land, baobab fruit, masao berry. They're raising goats, they're growing maize, it's just great. They could get killed by a hippo, but they lived a long time. Many centenarians there. We met several, and it was just crazy. And so that really drilled into me, like, again, the closer you get to nature in God, the more healthy you're going to be, the further you get away. So watching, it's almost like the further they got away from civilization and closer to nature, the healthier the tribes, the closer to civilization, the more access they had to the clothes, polyester clothes with the microplastics. Obviously, I didn't even think about it back then. I was wearing a Lululemon, green, compression shirt back in the day. I got pictures of me holding, and that was when I was still really sick. But I also noticed when I was there, I slept through the night. I had all the things, right? You remember that. I was so sick. And I slept through the night when I was in Africa, open air living, thick, like mudded concrete walls. And it was the first time I slept in probably 4 or 5 years. So even today, since I live, close to the city, since there's radio towers and EMF, and I make my home as clean as I possibly can, I still have yet, after all the modalities that I've done over the years, access to the best of the best, I still never slept. When I was probably at my sickest, I slept as good as I slept in Africa. No EMF, no VOCs, like all the toxins, right? I was eating, they had a farm, all regenerative farm food. They farmed God's way is how they did there. Like they planted seeds. They didn't rip the soil or till it or anything. That was a no-till farming method. So anyway, it always comes back to that, right? Further away from nature, further away from civilization, it seems like the healthier you get. And everyone's saying, I get this all the time, well, I can't just go move into the woods. So what do I do?
Well, I love what you were saying there, because as I'm listening to you, first of all, I just want to say what you're doing with this podcast is amazing. And the impact that you're making with people's lives is amazing because of the point that you were making when you were there, being around these different tribes. And you were talking about the Centurions, for example. Mm-hmm. And when you look at all these Centurions, the common denominator between all these people is community.
Yeah.
Being around like-minded people that are holding each other accountable, that are supporting each other, that are praying for each other, that are just there in connection, because God's created us for connection. And how about we all be connected to people who are really living the way God intended us to in the first place, which is what you're helping people do. So I just wanted to say thank you for what you're doing, because that's exactly what you're able to do through this podcast. So thanks for that. I love being able to be around a tribe of people, like the group of people that we're going to be around this weekend, for example, even here, that are thinking the way that we do, right? There's nothing worse than being out with everybody else. And I say, basically just with the quote normal people, which are the abnormal people, right?
Yeah.
And just having people say things, why are you eating that? Or if you're at a restaurant, when you're saying, hey, don't put seed oil on that. I'm allergic to that.
Mm-hmm. We all develop the allergies. We all develop seed oil allergies.
But it really
fragrance allergies in the hotels.
Our body doesn't know what to do with that stuff.
No.
So it really truly is. So just being around like-minded people is huge. And I guarantee you, just all of these like-minded people here being in the same hotel will change the thinking, right? And of the people who are even working here, the people in the hotel. It's just that energy that you have in connection. So I think that's huge.
It's so powerful, and it's part of the healing journey. And I always say this, if you want to get well, you got to find the right people. Yeah. You got to get rid of all the toxic people. And then you might come back to them and serve them and love them later, but you need people encouraging you and say, you're going to get well. You're going to be healthy. As you went and stood by Randy's side, right? We need those people. And that was those people that is the reason I'm here today. Without that encouragement, that community, I would have given up. And so that's part of what this podcast is. And it's neat. I was at another event and I had a guy, and I'm tired. Like I got 3 kids, I got, businesses, and I love what I do. I love giving, and it's part of my nature. And the guy, and I sometimes get tired, and they can see it's like, they'll say, then the community will see it. They'll sense that energy, be like, you know what, Warren, we're behind you, behind what you're doing. We're part of what you're doing. We're part of this movement of non-toxic lifestyle, and you're not alone, right? And that's the most powerful thing, that someone can sense that you're fatigued, and all they have to do is say that word, we're behind you, you're not alone, We love you. We care for you. Anything you need. And you don't even need anything from them. You just need that encouragement, and you just light back up. It's like, let's go. You step back into your masculine, right?
Yeah.
And you go. And there's been so many times, and I love stepping into my feminine. I cry all the time. Like, it's powerful, right? But there's this yin and yang of the fight for healing and health and being a dad and running a business. It's not, as everyone listening, it's not easy. And I do love that community, and I think it's really, really critical for our healing journey, for our happiness. I mean, isn't that the name of your guys' podcast? Doesn't it have happy in it?
It's the happy, healthy life.
Yeah, the happy, healthy life.
Who doesn't want that?
Yeah, everybody wants that. So I have a couple questions for you. The one is, if there was a toxin you could remove in this world, and I have 5 pillars, the toxic absorption, toxic ingestion, inhalation, toxic mindset, and then toxic energy, which could be frequencies. I guess those two kind of go over mindset and energy. Now that, you talk about frequencies, EMF, but, it seems like that kind of all is starting to meld. Maybe I get 4 pillars, but out of all the toxins that I've just discussed there, what do you think is the number one? Yeah, I already know the answer. What do you think is the number one based on what you told me earlier? I'm like, I just answered my own question. Am I asking the same question twice? What do you think is the greatest the toxin, and what would it be?
I'll say, first of all, is just really protecting your energy against the toxic energy around, whether that's people, and sometimes it could even be family as well, which can be hard, right?
So hard.
And so that's one of my practices. Every morning I write down, okay, what is it that I'm letting go of today?
Not your to-do list, what I'm letting go list.
Yes.
So powerful.
Yeah. So what am I letting go of? It could be, who am I letting go of? It could also be, what negative thought do I have right now that I need to let go of?
So good.
That's in there. So really just being intentional about that. So that is what I would say to answer your question.
No, I haven't heard that, and I do it daily. You do it all day long. Like, I'm sure we do it in the mornings. That's great to have a practice. And I think you just transformed some lives saying that. It's almost like your do not do list, but what are you going to let go of? And I think right now, people are listening to this, there's just this one person you haven't let go of, right? You still haven't forgave them. And you forgave everybody else, but it's that one person. You need to let go. Because I can tell you from experience, so can you. You let that person go, it's just another level of freedom. And it opens up more of your heart. Your heart gets more open. You're more connected to humanity than you ever would be. And so you should persevere and do it in the morning. Say, I'm going to forgive this person. I'm still holding on to that anger towards my dad or my mom or the person that, sued me, many years ago, or that, whatever. It can be horrific things as well. But that power is amazing. And I do it. I'm an energy management guy. I don't remember the book at the moment, but I'll drop it in the show notes. But energy management is so critical. And throughout the day, if I have a toxic thought, I go, I don't got time for that. I'm letting that go. Like a judgment will come in, a simple, small judgment. Nope. And then pretty soon you just up level your life just by throwing out that negative energy. As soon as it comes in, I throw it out. As soon as I start getting mad at my wife about anything, I just stop. I go, nope. Just let it go. And it didn't happen overnight. It was practice. And it's one of the most powerful things that has transformed my life. I know that was your answer, but I just loved it so much I had to jump in there and give it some extra meat,
As I think about it, as you talk about that, it's like, a lot of people think like the letting go of or surrender, right, is something that, okay, I'm going to surrender myself to whatever, but the sheer act of surrender really is true freedom, and it's really moving yourself closer to God and leaning into God, because there's some things that people may need to let go of. If we're talking about nutrition, it could be, I should let go of sugar, right? I need to surrender my, sugar, whatever. And that really allows that person now to trust and put their faith more into God. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And something else that we should let go of and surrender, and this is huge, is right here, and that would be our own ego. And so sometimes you were talking about like even forgiving other people. Sometimes that surrender comes in the form of us asking for forgiveness as well. That's hard. Yeah. That's true letting go of your own self and your own ego. So one of the prayers that I love, and something that I've been praying a lot lately, first to myself and even saying that to other people around me, is I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you. And just repeating that as I'm looking at myself in the mirror, because that's the first person that I need to ask forgiveness from. And then doing that for others as well. And I think that's a huge just act of letting go and surrendering on a daily basis.
Yeah. I was doing some podcasts the other day, and I was doing so many of them. I was just starting to get anxiety, and there was just all this, and I just forgave myself for feeling that way. And I cried, and then I felt amazing, right? I just forgave myself for not being strong enough to be able to, to do it all, right? And I just, I had a friend, she's like, can I do something woo-woo on you? And she started me doing some tapping thing, and I was forgiving myself, and I have everything, I don't know what, I don't do that on the regular, right? And then I'm like, I'm going to cry now, and I did.
I love it.
And then I felt amazing, right? So it's so powerful. And my last question, this is my favorite question. We can go off into stratospheres here. But if there is something that bothers you the most in this world, that it's not your greatest fear, but your greatest concern. I don't like to use the word fear because, language patterns and such. But if you had your greatest concern for the world right now, what would that be, and how would you correct that or help it?
Well, it's what I'm most passionate about and what it is that I do. And that's really wanting to rid the world of metabolic illness, metabolic disease. Like we talked about earlier, I mean, metabolism can be in the form of just thoughts coming in your body. It could be food coming in your body, people around you, but just really the impact that has on people's health when they have poor metabolic function. Because we're talking about people having these chronic illnesses, chronic diseases, and that right there is what I'm most passionate about, because people have just not been educated correctly. They just don't know what they don't know. So I'm passionate about teaching people about that.
Yeah, metabolism it comes back down to energy management, right? I mean, if you want to break down the equation, thoughts affect your energy metabolism because they're affecting your hormones. Food is doing it. Toxins are obviously hormone and energy wreckers. So I like this metabolism thing. It does encompass a lot, right?
Absolutely.
Especially when you break it down. So how can people, as we wrap up, how can people find you?
Yeah, they can find us on Instagram at the 2 life. So it's the H2 life.
The H2 life.
Or they can go to thehappyhealthylife.com.
Yeah. Well, love it. Thank you again for reconnecting. I can't wait to spend more time with you, even outside of this podcast, but it's been a pleasure and honor, my friend.
Absolutely. It's great reconnecting. Thank you so much for the invite. I know this is going to impact a lot of lives.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at The Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.